Welcome to Lesson 12 of the Special Operations Candidate course. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about attrition in the form of false expectations. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's start with this. False expectations generally means that your expectations of either training or the lifestyle associated with that career is unrealistic. So let's break that down. Okay, these are the two ways, generally. Of course, we try not to go into intense detail and complexity. Just to understand the basic ideas, we just keep things simple. So you could have false expectations in training, you could have false expectations in lifestyle. False expectations in training, we would say, is mostly associated with pipeline type events. And so false expectations in training means that you think that as pipeline goes on, that you come in and as time goes on, things are going to get a certain way, and obviously they're not really going to get that way, which means you have false expectations. So here's what I want to talk about with regard to that. If you start and you look at the difficulty of this pipeline, the green line is going to be the expectation, the red line is going to be more reflective of reality. So here's what the candidate with false expectations thinks. We get into one of two scenarios. We could say pipeline is right here. This is the end of pipeline. We'll say that's the end, and this is the start of pipeline, okay? So the first scenario is that at the start of pipeline, things are going to be hard, and then as pipeline goes on, it's going to get progressively easier, okay? And obviously, if you continue this, you would think that the career is the easiest of all, okay? Doesn't seem like a very common view. However, I assure you that there are candidates who think that pipeline is the hardest up front just to weed people out, okay? It might be true if your pipeline is a selection process only. However, most pipelines are a combination of selection and training, and that training requirement means that they expect you to get better over time, which means normally the requirements of you as far as ability, skill, capability, physical condition, all that stuff, it gets higher for a reason, and that's because the expectations are that you perform at a higher level continuously and continuously progress, okay? So, as I said, this is the expectation, this is reflective of fantasy, and this is more reflective of reality. Maybe we start off really simple, maybe we start off a little bit hard, okay, depending on what level we start off on, kind of depending on the difficulty of the program itself. If we want to reach a higher eventual difficulty, we might start a little bit higher to kind of weed out the very weakest of the people who might try to come in at the beginning. And then we're either going to go straight up, we're either going to go up at a linear angle like that, or you're going to start slow, kind of get things down, and then you're going to start ramping up. And either way, whether you go in a straight line up or whether you start to ramp up, here is where your career is, okay, in reality. Here is the start of pipeline in reality. Here is the end of pipeline. So if you have an expectation, quite simply, that pipeline is somehow going to get easier as you get towards the finish point or at the finish point, here's the second scenario, that pipeline is going to be difficult, and then after this, the career gets easier, okay? Either way, the candidate in fantasy land here thinks that pipeline either gets easier as you go or that pipeline is the pinnacle point that you're trying to reach, and then the career is actually, you know, a more laid back, you made it, congratulations kind of thing. I'm here to tell you right now that's normally not the case, okay? So obviously there's a lot of people who fail because of false expectations. If you think this is the case, you set yourself up for failure, okay? If you think this is the case, even if your job is more down here in the requirements of the eventual career, if you've set yourself up to get to this level eventually, mentally, physically, whatever, here you set yourself up for success by continuous progression and continuous achievement. Here you set yourself up for failure by expecting something like a reward or a break or relaxation or an easier time that might never come, okay? And when you realize that it never comes, again, you have that reevaluation. Hey, this is not what I thought it was going to be. Do I really want to do this? As soon as you start asking yourself whether you really want to do this, you're kind of done already, right? If you haven't noticed that yet. Another thing I want to mention, since I did talk about lifestyle, is that a lot of candidates tend to view training and lifestyle as separate issues. They think that there's a wall here, okay, and they think that this is work time. When you go to work, you're doing either training or performance, okay? And when you go home or when you're off work, that's your lifestyle time, right? And the two are separated by this imaginary wall, okay? Again, we're talking about special operations careers. What a lot of people don't realize, there is no wall here, okay? Most of the time, this is the same thing. Work and home life is very similar, okay? Your expectations to maintain your ability and your readiness do not stop when you leave work in a special operations career. Yes, they may stop when you leave work at a desk job. You might have, if something comes in at the end of the day, and the phones are down or whatever, you're in that desk job, yeah, it's going to wait until tomorrow. If you're in a special operations career and you're supposed to leave from work and something goes down, I guarantee you will not leave for work, at least without making sure that your buddies on the next shift have everything covered. Okay? And if that's not the case, you personally may be involved in the effort, in the operation that's happening. I don't care if it's before or after work time. There is no work time and play time when it comes to special operations. It's a lifestyle. And for candidates who treat it like training and lifestyle are really all the same big thing wrapped up in a ball, they tend to be much more successful. They realize that these two are very interrelated. Now, I'm not saying don't have a home life, don't have family time, don't do things outside of work and to just focus on work. I'm not saying that. But you can't have a very distinct separation in specific career fields like the ones we're dealing with when we talk about special operations. It's a whole life commitment kind of thing. And if you look at it that way, you'd be much less likely to have false expectations and to expect that somehow over time you're going to get to this hard point and then things are just going to get easier. Okay, this expectation tends to come with that wall. Once you break that down, you kind of realize life goes more like this. It's a continuous progression and continuous achievement. You should always be looking to increase your own potential and your own skills. And if you have that mindset, you're much more likely to be successful in the lifestyle long term, which is what we're concerned with. So that's pretty much false expectations in a nutshell. Next lesson, we're going to be talking about core beliefs and why they're important. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe to get the new stuff, and check the website out at sotfoundation.org. And if you want to contact us for any reason, go ahead and do that by phone, email, comments, or whatever. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.